Okay, here's a fun fact you might not know. Marine mammals didn't actually start off in the ocean. Whales and dolphins, for example, used to look more like small dogs on land. And before you ask, no, they didn't just wake up one day and decide, hey, let's become Olympic swimmers. No, this took millions of years of evolution, and trust me, they took their sweet time. Sure, we could dive into the backstories of all marine mammals, but let's stick with whales and dolphins for now. Their journey from land to sea is wild enough. Now that we've dropped that knowledge bomb, let's take a step back, like way back, about 500 million years. So, back then, the ocean wasn't the peaceful beach vibes kind of place you'd imagine. It was more like an underwater version of Mad Max. You had creatures like Dunkleosteus, an armored fish with jaws strong enough to crush bone, and Megalodon, a prehistoric shark that was essentially a floating nightmare the size of a school bus. So yeah, you could say the ocean was a bit crowded. Some fish probably took a look around and thought, yeah, this isn't working out for me. How about we try land instead? And so, slowly but surely, they began evolving into amphibians. Think of it as fish going through a tough breakup. But instead of just moving to a different city and getting a fresh start, they grew legs and moved to a completely new world. After a while, these amphibians were like, being wet all the time kind of sucks. So they evolved into reptiles. And because evolution has commitment issues, some of these reptiles were like, you know what's missing? Fur and warm blood. Boom, mammals were born. Now here's where things get weird. Millions of years later, some mammals, who had finally gotten used to land, decided, actually, let's head back to the water. And just like that, the story of whales and dolphins begins. About 50 million years ago, there was this little guy called Pachycetus. Picture a dog about the size of a large retriever, except with webbed feet and a serious case of FOMO. It probably looked like it was ready to fetch sticks on the beach, but instead, it was out there chasing fish in shallow waters. Slowly, over millions of years, Pachycetus was like, you know, the water's not that bad, and started evolving to hunt there full time. Its legs turned into flippers, its body streamlined, and before you knew it, Pachycetus had gone full mermaid mode. At one point, we get creatures like Ambulocetus, which literally means walking whale. Imagine a crocodile with fur that could both swim and walk. Yeah, evolution was just throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what stuck. As these creatures spent more and more time in the water, they kept adapting. Nostrils moved up to the top of their heads, turning into blowholes, and they got really good at holding their breath, perfect for those long dives. Their tails got stronger for swimming, and soon enough they were like, who needs land anymore? That's how you go from a dog-like creature to something as gigantic as the blue whale. But let's rewind for a second. Why go back to the ocean after all that time on land? Well, by the time these mammals evolved, the ocean wasn't quite the nightmare it used to be. A lot of the big scary creatures had died off, so there was more space to stretch out and a lot fewer things trying to eat you. So basically they were like, hey, maybe the ocean isn't so bad after all. Meanwhile, the fish were just chilling, probably thinking, we never left, but sure, take your time, mammals. So, why didn't mammals just stay in the ocean to begin with? Well, timing's everything, right? Fish evolved in water around 500 million years ago, but mammals didn't show up until a good 300 million years later. By that time, fish had already claimed dibs on the ocean. Mammals had no choice but to take the scenic route, evolving on land first, then deciding to take a dip much later. In the end, evolution is just nature's way of playing a really long game of Monopoly. Except instead of buying properties, it took a small land mammal, dunked it in the ocean, and a few million years later, boom, we've got whales. And I'm pretty sure fish are still a little salty about it.